All right, so hello and welcome back, everybody. Dr. Sears back again with not what I would call a lecture, but instead, this is going to be sort of a walkthrough for our first lab in MIET 404 ground control. Okay, and this is, I'm calling entry ratings. Okay, so we're going to talk about specifically, we're going to be talking about a coal mine entry rating system that was published back in 2020 by Van Dyke et al. And this proposed, like I said, a new rating system for basically the deterioration or the sort of condition, okay, the condition of coal mine entries. And so it aimed to remove some of the subjectiveness that's required in creating hazard maps, right? So this is one of the examples of something that you would put onto a map, a hazard map, for example, like if you're retreat mining a panel, then you need to go objectively go and look and make a map of what that panel is like, okay, so that the workers who are employed there, they know what they're getting into, right? So you can mark, this is basically the base line for that, right? And in doing so, looking at past literature and applying what we sort of wanted today in a modern sort of classification system, this is what they came up with. Okay, so for the RIB index, you're looking at levels 1 through 6 for everything, and in this case, a level 1 being a sloughage of 3 inches or less. Widespread sloughage 3 to 6 inches is a 2. You get up to 1 foot for a level 3. 2 feet for a level 4, 4 feet for a 5, and then anything beyond 4 feet gets you into a 6 category. Okay, and then there are drawings that are associated with these that kind of show what a typical pillar or some pillars might look like when they're in these levels of condition. As for the roof, if you have the very flat roof that looks like it's original there and has bit marks mostly visible in it, so it's relatively strong. There's minimal flaking. You're not really scaling anything. Then that's a 1. Okay. If it's minor, and you're limited to 3 inches on the sort of flaking and scaling there, the sloughing off of the roof, then you're at a level 2. Level 3 gets you up to 12 inches, less than 2 foot depth on the cutters. That gets you to a level 3. If you observe loading on the bolt plates, so the bolt plates are bending, right? You see those bending down in towards the roof, then that bolt is loading up, right? At that point, if that's relatively widespread and not just like a single bolt, then your cutters are greater than 2 feet, or you have to have some standing support in there, and it's showing some load. Not a lot, but it's just started to maybe hold something back. Then you're looking at like a 4. Okay, so it's not simply just what you're observing from the damage. You're also looking at signs of additional stress too, right? So anyway, that gets you a 4. Then once the standing supports are very much loaded up, bolts may be failing, that sort of thing, then you're into a level 5. And then of course, if you have a roof fall above the primary support, then we are going to go ahead and just call that a 6, right? Something that has to be reportable. So this is the 2 different indices that were turned for the rib and the roof. There also is a floor deterioration index that is included as well. No floor problems, obviously a 1, 6 inch or less, 2. And it also depends on how widespread it is, right? So once things start becoming more widespread and you have heave into the 1 foot range, you get to a 3. 2 feet for a 4. 4 feet is a 5, and more than 4 is a 6. So you have a lot going on. You can also have damage to the ribs from your floor. You know, that's when you start getting into this like sort of 6 range. But anyways, this is sort of the deterioration index that they came up with. Obviously, you can see it's kind of similar to you know, what was used for the rib. You know, up to the 4 feet. It's kind of the roof that's the main difference as far as, you know, amounts of displacement for different levels. So they also gave examples, okay, and this is what we're going to be looking at in the lab itself. You're going to be given a series of photos, okay, and you'll be tasked with determining sort of what rating you would give these, okay? And you'll be asked for variations of roof, rib, and floor. And you may not get all of them in each single photo because like this one, you know, this is an example of a rib corner. And in this case, you know, the corner rating would be a 5 because there was 3 feet of spalling in here. So how can you tell there's 3 feet? Well, it's probably it may be a little bit more than that. I don't know what length this bolt is, and I can't tell if it's broken or not. But it was probably either a 3 or 4 foot bolt. I'm saying probably 4 feet because it actually looks pretty long here. And it's probably pulled out and not, you know, broke or it could be broken or pulled out, and I can't really tell from the photo, right? But that's one way to sort of estimate how much, you know, movement there has been here. Something like of that. I can also see, you know, down this entry that perhaps in the straights the ribs aren't quite so bad. Maybe not a 5, and perhaps most likely from what you can see here, even a 3 or a 4. Okay, but this particular one, it's a 5. You can also try and estimate, you can't see them in the photos, but the bolt spacing, we'll look at some of that like that in a minute. Here is a roof rating of 3 due to cracks and slicks greater than 3 inches. Okay, so in here, and you can also see some loading on this particular bolt plate. It's not necessarily widespread. This is loaded up much less. This could be bent for another reason you can't see in the photo, but just knowing that the bolt spacing here, it definitely appears to be tighter than 4 feet, and it most likely is maybe closer to 3 or something. So anyways, it's going to be really hard to determine that this is 3 inches, or, you know, 3 inches, there are cracks that are 3 inches or greater, right? But anyways, this is a 3. And then the last example was an example of floor heave, which exceeded 4 feet, and therefore the rating of the floor was a 6. Okay? The paper also provides more information than just what to look for, and it provides a tiered framework for creating color-coded maps that can be used to help visualize conditions. Okay, so for example, you know, tier 1, if you're just doing the mapping at every intersection, this is what your map would kind of look like. So it looks something like this. Each intersection gets a rating, each corner gets a rating for the pillar. In this case, floor ratings were 1, and they're not displayed on here, but you would also could have like it would have like an F1, 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 that sort of thing. Tier 2 in this paper adds mapping the straights as well. You know, for example, at least 1 or 2 locations, okay, at depending on how big the pillars are, right? You can do multiple ones, but this gives you a much denser sort of, you know, pattern for your observations and that sort of thing, right? So ratings in the straights and the crosscuts. And then finally, tier 3 adds local stress and geologic features, right? So in the roof, where there were slick and sided joints in the roof, they were labeled like this, and where they were, you know, where they occurred. There's a well here that was fracked and also labeled. So there are other things that you might see in the roof, and we'll talk about all those later. It's not as important for this now, but this paper does give you some insights into what your maps are starting to look like. Okay. It can also be used to track time-dependent changes, right? If you were to do this exercise multiple times at different stages of mining, right? So, for example, this map that came from Clementi et al. In 2019 shows what this mapping looked like for a development entry for a longwall mine. What it was like after the first panel made it up to the site. It doesn't show where that is, but I'm assuming it's about right in line with this. So first panel gets to the site. This is what it looks like. A lot more light blues and greens, a few yellows. Once the second panel's at the site, or once the panel is passed. So before the second panel arrives, there's been additional sort of deterioration, more in yellow. Then, of course, once it gets there, the highest extent of the abutment load is reached, and then you start to see significantly more damage to conditions, right? So you can do that. There's also another example here of time-dependent changes. This is observed conditions of bleeder entries before and after the panels were mined, right? So after the panel was mined, you do see additional loading, movement, that sort of thing. So you can do that too. And one more for good measure, I say. There is a third, which shows conditions of another section of bleeder entries before, during, and after longwall mining, right? So now that conditions of those entries change over time. These are all techniques that can be used for maps, like these, right? So you make these maps, and these are basically starting to form the basis, like I said, for the hazard maps that you're going to be, maybe creating during retreat mining. Okay, so what you'll be doing for the lab, and this includes long walls too, right? So that's including retreat mining of long walls that you'll need to go in and look at the conditions of the entries and that sort of thing. So with that, what your lab is going to consist of is 10 photos that you'll be trying to sort of determine and estimate, what you think that rating might be for those conditions. Okay, and it's posted on the website. And with that, we'll see you next time.